Hello and welcome to We Will Talk About It, the supernatural rewatch podcast where we watch one episode every week, spoiler free. I'm Megan.
I'm Kat.
And this week we are watching season 1, episode 17, Hell House.
Oh, this is a good episode.
This is a fun episode.
It's so fun.
Before we get into the episode though, we actually got our first review on
Woohoo.
iTunes. So thank you very much. Now I will, full disclosure, I do know who left this review. Which is not to say, like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Review is a review, right? Be it from your peers or from anonymous.
Yeah, exactly. But I do appreciate it's very on brand for our podcast that they left us a review. But I think I assume accidentally gave us 2 stars. So it makes their review seem more like a complaint than a compliment.
Weird Karen complaint.
So they gave us 2 stars, and the headline of the review is "This podcast is dangerous!" ! I was almost buried alive under a pile of boxes due to laughing so hard at this podcast. So that is lovely, complimentary.
You're definitely very on brand for us.
Made us laugh a lot, you know.
That's our brand.
We're very happy to make you laugh, but the fact that it's 2 stars makes it seem like you're complaining.
Yeah, it's like,
you almost killed me.
You almost killed me. Be ashamed. Do better. You know, that's the vibe I'm getting. And obviously we know who.
Yes, we know who, and we're not trying to like guilt you into changing it. It's fine.
It's fine.
It did make me laugh because I know why you might have given 2 stars and not realized. So
yes, but also I love the fact that some random who stumbles on our podcast sees this and like, hang on, wait,
should I listen to this or not?
Like, is this like what is happening kind of scenario? So you know, I'm very much here for it.
Yeah. I really appreciate it. It made me laugh. But let's talk about Hell House. I've got to be honest, I didn't take many notes. I was enjoying watching the episode.
I've got 4.
Like, I got distracted because I was just having a good time.
Yeah, this is what happened. This has been, I think I've said to you, like, it's not that I'm being lazy. It's the fact that I'm, like, benders.
Yeah.
Because of all what's happening in front of me, I kind of forgot I was researching.
Yeah.
And by researching, I mean taking notes.
Yeah.
Bare minimum is what is required for me in this particular, this job. But I think it's gonna happen a lot more, and I think it will happen to you as well when we get into some really meatier episodes. We're going to be so in going through the motions again that we're going to be like, we forgot to write notes.
Yeah, but
we know what's happening in the episode, especially this episode. I was like, yes, and I also realized this is the first episode I realized that they because I'm watching it on Stan and not on DVDs, that they didn't use real like music.
Yeah,
they used generic rock music versus. I know 100% that Blue Oyster Cult was playing in this damn episode and it didn't come and I was mad.
Yeah, so like the first 2 songs that they play in the episode, for reasons that will come obvious, are Blue Oyster Cult songs. We've already had Blue Oyster Cult. We don't be the Reaper. Yep. But we open on Richardson, Texas.
Yep.
Fun fact, this Richardson, Texas is actually Jensen's hometown.
Oh, adorable.
But, yes, it's actually like in real life just like a suburb.
Ah, right.
Like it's not a sort of, you know, small town, but yeah, that's his hometown. So that's which obviously I think is a intentional.
But before we go any further, taking a beat back, who wrote and directed this episode?
So this episode was written by Trey Calloway and directed by Chris Long.
Don't know.
Yeah. So
I mean, they did great in this episode.
Yes,
they both did very well. So, hats off.
Yes,
tip of the fedora. As such.
Yeah, they're not one of our kind of established faves.
Yeah. No one of us saws about it. They may be in future. They may be in future episodes. We'll find out. Just keep listening, keep watching. You know, all those things.
But yeah, no, we're not. This isn't an episode by any of our particular.
Yeah, my bestie and such. No.
Yeah, by your bestie, our boy Kim Manners, or our girl Sarah Gamble.
Yeah.
So. But we open on some teenagers in Richardson, Texas. They are visiting a haunted house.
A dilapidated house. And
it's all very like classic.
Oh, so classic of teenagers.
Classic 2006. So we get some like classic 2005, 2006 fashion in this episode.
One of the boys wearing a Bollock colour t-shirt but having like the short sleeve like checkered shirt over.
Yep. Lots of long jeans getting destroyed in the mud.
Oh, 100%. They were some bootleg jeans.
Bootleg jeans over your boots. But they are at a haunted house. They, kind of dare each other to go in.
Yep.
They're walking around. It's, got lots of creepy symbols, and there's like chicken feet, I was going to say stapled, but like nailed to the wall.
Stapled to
the wall.
Ka-chunk. Oh my God, that'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great. Just someone walking and going, you know what will fucking creep up this place?
Mm-hmm.
Chicken leg. Ba-dank.
And they're sort of like talking and joking with one another. And then they see a girl. She's been hung from the ceiling and she looks like she's dead. Obviously, they like piss bolt out of there. We then cut to like, I think it says like a few months later, and Sam and Dean are driving into town. And this is probably one of the most kind of light-hearted episodes that we get in season 1. Like,
it's not part of the main storyline. It's very Monster of the Week.
But even aside from that, like, we obviously have the kind of ongoing prank war that occurs.
Oh yeah.
And so it's kind of got a lot of brevity compared to like a lot of the other Monster of the Week episodes haven't exactly been like a fun romp.
No.
So yeah, this one is very kind jovial. Of fun. We've got Sam's asleep in the passenger seat of the Impala.
Mouth gaping open.
And so Dean goes and puts a like plastic spoon in his mouth and then allegedly takes a picture. But I was watching and there was no picture app.
There was just a lot of ka-chunk noises.
Yeah.
And I love that he opens his very tiny flip phone. I'm like, mate, there's like what, 3 like pixels?
3 megapixels on that thing.
There's like max. And I'm like, also, it did make me think, it's like, oh my God, we would do that today, obviously, with our smartphones. And it's like, look at Dean being a pioneer, taking funny photos. Yeah. It could also be a meme, you know?
But I'm also like, I mean, what quality? Like, that picture looked like it was taken by a toaster.
Oh, it was taken by a toaster. Like, that's, I'm going to quote you. Yeah. It was taken by a toaster.
Yeah. Well, I have to, if I'm going to say that, I have to actually reference the origin of taking a picture with a toaster, which is our girls, some of our faves, Mel and Josie from the
All American,
All Aussie Mystery Hour podcast, and also the Zest is History. Go check them out. They're wonderful and delightful. And if you like Australian girls who pretend like they know what they're talking about and swear a lot, a la us, they might also be.
They also were a bit of an inspiration for this podcast.
They definitely were. But the taking a picture with a toaster is definitely.
Oh, that is.
I don't actually know anyone in 2006 who had a camera on their phone. Like, I don't remember. Like, everyone still had like Nokias.
One, but you wouldn't. The phone, like, because your screen was so small. Like, it was.
And also, you could take like 2 pictures and then you'd have no room left for any text messages. So,
well, no, that's where you had to get like your SDR cards and stuff and like pull them out and put them into your phone.
Yeah, which I did not have a phone clever enough for that until I basically got a smartphone. Like,
yeah, same. Look,
like
same.
No Gen Z knows the pain of figuring out which text messages from your crush do you save and which do you delete. But they're driving into Richardson, Texas. Dean seems like a bit dubious that there's anything here, like kids.
Kids be kids.
You know, teenagers, maybe they saw something, maybe they didn't see something, maybe it was a prank, like, who knows.
And then we get the old, well, let's go and, you know, interview them, let's see what's happening. And they all 4 of them give different responses. Like, she had red hair, she had blonde hair, she had black hair. No, she had curly hair. Yeah. No, she was like a hot white chick, then they were like, no, she was this, or no, she was wearing pants, no, she was wearing jeans, no, she was wearing a white shirt. Like, and, you know, it reminds me, you know, going off topic again, which is so on brand for us, it's the old Freaky Friday TV show. Like, it, do you remember on ABC? It was like a little short series.
Oh, happened to a friend of a friend of mine? Yep. I totally know which one you're talking about now.
Freaky, it was called, I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure it was called Freaky Friday.
I'm just going to check.
She's checking. That's why if Meghann has gone silent, she is now checking. But yeah, I loved that show as a kid because it was so, it always...
Freaky Stories.
There we go.
Was the name of it.
My apologies, not Freaky Friday, which is also a movie.
Yes, no, Freaky Stories. Yeah. Totally that. Absolutely.
Yeah, totally that. Like, it happened to a friend. Like, this episode in particular is definitely you could submit this to a Freaky Stories and they'd be like, yeah, because it happened to a friend of mine. Yeah. And I love that, like, every story on that particular, I loved it as a kid. I thought it was the best.
Oh yeah, Freaky Stories was great. It was on like after Daria,
it was
before
always
The Simpsons.
It was like a 5 to 7 minute like show. It was a short. I'm going to see if I can try and find it and see if I can watch some of the episodes, because some of them were like, it was definitely obviously aimed at children, but it was, I know there was like the cool theme, like the intro. It was just a great show.
Yeah, and it was probably scary. But yeah, they all tell different versions of the same story.
Yep.
And what I was going to say as well is that like Dean's pretty dubious that this is anything, but Sam's like, well, we let Dad go, which was a mistake. So
Yep.
now we are hunting. So
Yep.
we're going to go and check this out because like we've left ourselves. We're not looking for Dad anymore.
No.
Like we found Dad. He doesn't want our help. We let him go.
So let's go do something else.
So we're going to do something else until whatever next happens
Until
with Dad.
until Dad sends out the Winchester
bat symbol,
bat symbol up in the sky there.
Yeah, it's just plaid.
Yeah. But anyway, I also love the fact that when Jensen shoves the spoon in Sam's sleeping, gaping mouth, that I love that it almost seems like he's doing, like, I got a sense that obviously the back of the heels of the previous episode, Dean's almost like trying to like distract Sam with this little playful fight, like this prank war. And I love the fact that Jensen's like, oh, sorry, I should say Dean. Dean is all like, yeah, we're going to start it, boy. Like, bring it. You're going to get some Nair in your shampoo.
Did you do pranks on your, did you prank your sister very much?
I mean, we were more like the slapping and biting, but no, not really pranky. What about you?
No, kind of like you, ours would escalate too quickly.
Oh, yeah.
For pranks.
It was always like, it would be like someone would be, it would be the most, you used my hairbrush. Even though you weren't 100% sure they used your hairbrush, but you were 100% sure they did. So you just steamrolled in, and then you're like, you used my hairbrush. Their response to always, no, I didn't. And the next minute, like I said, you're like 90s, WWE wrestler, grabbing hair, you're pulling something, and someone's been thrown on the ground.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, girls.
Yeah. I think girls are either best friends with each other or they can barely tolerate each other. It is
literally Mortal Kombat. And then insert Mortal Kombat, music.
Yeah. So we didn't really prank each other. Like, we did a few things. Like, obviously, after we watched The Sound of Music, pine cones ended up everywhere. Like, and we had, like, tiny pine cones. Like, they were really...
Pine cones?
So in The Sound of Music, for anyone who
I've seen it, but I'm just like, where?
She sits on a pine cone super early on, and she finds pine cones in her bed.
Oh, yeah, when the kids hate her. Yeah.
So pine cones ended up in each other's bed a lot. And we had, like, teeny tiny little pine cones. Like, they were, like, the size of, like a marble, I guess, like a big marble. But they were really spiky, and so you could just like strew them in someone's bed.
Oh, were they like an orangey browny color, and they kind of look like a golf ball, but they're like spiky?
Yes, yeah.
Oh.
So we had those. So that happened. We pranked our mum a couple of times.
Yep.
So we stole her makeup, and we gave ourselves like rashes, and we must have done a really good job because she genuinely freaked out, and we actually had to like break character and tell her that they were fake because she was like seconds away from taking us to the emergency ward.
Whoops, but that's a good prank. That's a good prank.
Yeah, that escalated really quickly. But my favorite one that we did on my mum was we changed her salt because my mum had like a sodium deficiency growing up.
Yep.
So she had extra salt in her food. So she had a little salt dish. And all our salt was controlled because we were kids. So we weren't allowed to have more salt. But we swapped it out for sugar, like caster sugar. And that was such a fun dinner, watching her like keep adding sugar and like taking mouthfuls and like looking really confused and being like, okay. And then adding a little bit more. And we kept a straight face the whole time.
How? I would have been... if you know me in real life, I would not...
So we never really pranked each other because, like I said, it would end in bloodshed, like, immediately. Like, we were... Yeah, like, I don't know why people think that, like, girls are real sweethearts that, like... love each other. Girls do sometimes and get along really well.
Oh yeah,
then like the switch will flip. And then you are...
It's called the bitch switch.
And it's just... It's not even like teens. Like...
It's kids. It's small shit.
Particularly if you're enough together in age. Yeah. Like, you just, like... You will try and destroy each other. At the end of the kind of, like, convoluted story that we get, everyone's telling a slightly different story.
Yeah. Friend of mine.
When they ask, like, well, okay, whose idea was it to go there? They all say Craig.
Such a name.
So they go and they visit Craig. He's working in a record store. They get the story from Craig about Mordecai Murdoch, who lived with his 6 daughters, and it was the Depression, and
couldn't feed them.
He couldn't feed them, and so he thought it would be kinder to
kill them.
Yeah. So that's what he did, and then he hung himself, and that's like
Murder
story.
suicide, literally murder suicide.
Literally murder suicide. And
but why hanging?
yeah.
If you in what person's mind, and I mean, I say this not someone who's killed people, why would you hang them? They struggle. If you know anything about hanging, I mean, just if you listen to podcasts, like even like historical, like crime podcasts or like documentaries where hanging is like the execution, like how they, like a prisoner, like convicted person has passed. It is not a nice way to leave the world.
No.
It is you struggle. So the fact that he had 6 daughters and he's hanging each one of them, what's he doing? It's the 30s. He ain't got no drugs.
No.
It's established he's poor because it's the Depression. How is he doing? It's a lot. Like
it's a lot, but it is very like standard.
It's very like freaky stories.
Like local town.
Oh yeah,
story that doesn't necessarily like make
a lot of sense. Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, well, like my cousin Dana, she's the one that told me." And again, it's very like happened to a friend of mine, like passing down stories through generations. So they go and visit the house, and they were like, "Oh, he's a bit of a tagger," which. Do people still say tagger? Like,
I mean, if you don't know what tagger is, it's someone who spray paints.
Yeah, it's someone who tags graffiti.
Yeah.
And they have a tag, which is like their personal symbol.
Yeah. And when we say tag, we don't mean graffiti artists who actually do beautiful work.
No.
No,
we mean your mate that would steal spray cans from Bunnings and then like go and like tag your school after hours.
Yeah. And 9 times 10, why is it always a swatch sticker?
See, I didn't really have that. Ours had like we had lots of like specific gang tagging in my school.
I love it. Like the ones I saw, like my school was definitely not that, but a lot of it was a lot of swatch cake.
Yeah,
but again, I also grew up in the country, so I mean, read into that as you will.
No, mine were really specific and like you sort of like everyone had their own tag that they had, and it was like different gang tags.
I never did it. Did you ever spray over your tag? Right?
No, I'm not that kind of cool. Okay, at least not in high school. I wasn't that kind of cool. Like I knew people that tagged, but I was not that person.
It was not that.
I was always adjacent to it. I never actively participated.
Oh yeah, look, I never actively participated, actively did it.
No,
and nor was I ever impressed that someone I knew did it, and I was like, cool.
No, like because it was all the people for me that were like tangentially involved in. I say the word gang, let's not get excited. It was a bunch of 16-year-old guys wearing links, like being tough.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
like
with bum bags.
Yeah, with bum bags. Like
and bum bags that were thrown over their shoulders.
Yes.
They were not wearing it as the traditional sense of 90s bum baggery.
So they go in and there's like tags all over the walls and it
chicken feet stuck with staplers.
Yeah, in the bright light of day, it looks very like haunted house at Halloween, something that you would decorate rather than necessarily like proper spooky.
And Sam's like building.
A lot of these signs and sigils aren't even from the 30s. They're from like way, way later.
Yeah.
And Dean sees a sign on like a symbol on the wall. And he's like, what about this one? What's this from? And Sam's like, I've never seen it before. Dean's like, I have. Like, where have I seen this?
Yeah.
And so
just meandering through the house, trying to get their things, and then
exactly. And they hear a sound. So they run into 2 young men.
Yep.
Ed Zedmore and Harry Spengler, who are named for their surnames are 2 characters from Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, they are too. Yeah.
And I think that their first names are a play on the names of the actors that played those characters. So their characters are Egon Spengler and Winston Zedmore, but the actors that played them was Harold Ramis, who we couldn't remember last time, and you kept saying his name was Harry, and I was like, his name's not Harry, it's Harold. So you're very close.
Yeah,
but definitely not Harry, but like Harold. So, and then Ernie Hudson, who plays Winston, and so like their names are Ed Zedmore and Harry Spengler. So like Harold, Harry, and like Ernie, Ed.
Yeah.
So I think that their first names are a play on the actors who played these characters. Yeah. But so then they're named for Ghostbusters characters, which is very cool. And they are paranormal investigators who run the Hellhounds Lair website, where Sam has gotten a lot of the information about Mordecai. I love this. I love these characters.
They're so sassy.
They're so fun, and they're so grounded in a reality in a way that Sam and Dean are not. Yeah. Like the world that Sam and Dean live in is the real, like, it's our world, or like a version of our world, I guess you would say. But
they're campy.
But well, not even that they're campy, but like they're just like, the world that they live in is a world where ghosts are real, and like they hunt them, and they're very cool, and like it's, what they do is very like sexy. And then these guys are much more like the reality of paranormal investigators.
They're the nerd. They're the nerd crowd. They're the nerd crowd. Yeah, they're the weirdos at school that you'd be like, who are you?
Yeah, exactly. Like they're the ones that were always like off on their own on lunch breaks and stuff like that. So and so they run into these guys. They kind of like talk their way out of this conversation with Harry and Ed.
I also love that when Harry and Ed are explaining like EMFs, and Dean is just like, "Oh yes, explain more." And it's just like, "Oh God, I love this so much."
Yeah, and so like that's what kind of for me just like grounds it in reality, is like,
this is
obviously Dean and Sam know exactly what they're talking about, but like
you've got
but in the real sense,
in you've got Joe Blow over here sprouting what an EMF reader is.
Yeah. My note says they're paranormal investigators and high.
Yes, that's right. Because
being this, like, sorry, I've got the giggles from all that weed we smoked. I always find it so fascinating what you can get away with in like 2006 or whatever with like illicit substance use, because like pot wasn't legal anywhere in America in 2006. So I'm always like, particularly on a network show, I'm always like interested, like how do they manage to get through, like get it through to like have characters
CW.
Yeah,
because as we've discussed before, they don't really swear in this show, but yet we got old mate giggling from having too much of the devil's lettuce.
Yeah, so I always enjoyed like the way that they can like
pepper it in,
like how they can like
stretch and also stretch, for the ratings and stuff. Yeah, they can just cusp.
Yeah, so the boys do a little bit more research, and they decide that it's kind of like they can't find any actual missing girl, like let alone one that matches any of the descriptions. And they're like,
they can't find anything in the house either. Before they met these two paranormal investigators, the EMF reading wasn't really. When they did try it, they noticed that there was like interference because there was a live electrical box, so that was not giving the right readings. So there's nothing, and besides the symbols that they're like, some of it's from the 60s, some of it from the 70s. It's not really consistent with anything.
So they decide that they're, going to call it. They'll, stay for the night and then head off in the morning.
Yeah.
But that night, some more teenagers go into the house.
Doing truth or dare.
Like,
just kiss the boy.
But also gross. Like, what the fuck kind of dare is that? Is like make out with someone that you're not attracted to.
Yeah, right.
Gross
and really wrong. But at the same time, if I was in that situation, well, firstly, if I was, I'd be like, I'm going home.
Yeah,
I don't want to play either of this. Kiss someone non-consensually, or go into a house non-consensually and potentially get murdered.
Yeah,
you know what I'm fucking choosing? Home. That's always an option, guys. If you're ever in a situation
where you might enter a haunted house,
always choose home. Fuck no is my answer. Fuck no.
Is now a good time to tell you that I've slept in a haunted house?
Why? Why? Why would you do this? I don't even like going to cemeteries, man. Like, I want to know more, but I can't look at you right now because I'm like, it's not that I'm scared. I'm one of those people that I'm just like, it's the same reasons I have with snakes. I know they exist. They're good for the ecosystem. I do your snaky thing, but don't enter into my world. That's when a snake is presented into my world, I don't like that. And it's the same thing as like if there is a haunted house, I've been to haunted places in the daytime. I've never slept in them. I go there and I always in my mind to say, I'm here. I'm coming through. Please do not think that I am trespassing on your past. I'm here, I'm going through, not here to step on your past. Like, I'm very much, like, respectful. You know what I'm not going to do? Sleep in a haunted house because I'm sure that's going to wake up some kind of ghoul and I'm going to get fucked over.
Would you like to hear my story?
Yeah, sorry. I'm just really angry. I'm just like, oh, God, why?
So, because I was actually thinking about this because we'll talk about it in a kind of, like, stories evolving and, like, stories that are very like no one has an origin for them, and
Yep.
no one was, and there's no like real evidence to back them up, but
Yep,
they're
yep,
just
yep.
kind of like everybody knows them. So there is a place where I grew up in South Australia. It's called Woodhouse, and it's this beautiful property, I guess you would say, and
Okay.
it's like wooded, and it's got lots of like trails and like a big kind of adventure playground.
Okay.
With
So it's not like this place, like Hell House.
no,
Okay, that's okay.
I
Better.
was like, do you mean my house? Like,
No.
no. Yeah, so it's this really cool place, and it's owned by the Scouts, and I grew up in a scouting family, so I spent a lot of my childhood in
Yep.
this on this property.
Okay.
Just like as a kid, going to the adventure playground, like going camping there and stuff like that. But they have this old, for Australia, house on the property that's part of the original property, and it's from like the 1800s.
Got you.
And for my grandfather's 60th birthday, I guess, 60th or 70th. No, it would be his 60th. He's since passed, but I would have been like 8 or 9. My whole family rented it for his 60th birthday for us all to go stay. And just to be clear, like, I come from a Catholic family. I am one of 23 cousins. My dad is one of 9 children. So like a big old Victorian house is exactly how much space we need for everybody in the family.
Yeah.
But this house is haunted.
Okay.
And so the story is, and like I said, there's no evidence that this story is real. There's
Friend
no
of a friend
evidence
of mine kind of scenario.
it's exactly all that sort of stuff, but it's a fun story.
Sure.
There's sort of a variety of different stories, but the general story is a very wealthy family lived there, and that they had a child, and that the nurse maid for the child accidentally dropped the child down the stairs of the like servants' staircase, which I've seen, and it is like vertical. It's really, really steep. So
Oh shit, son.
it's pretty dangerous. So like I can sort of see how that's true.
Yeah.
And so out of grief.
So the child died.
So the child died, and out of grief, the parents blocked off the child's room. So if you're outside and you're looking up on the second floor, if you count the windows and you go inside and count the rooms, there's one more window than there's rooms in the house. Because there's like a locked off child's nursery that they like papered off. And then the mum subsequently died and now haunts the house.
Right.
So this
is. Can you not go into that room at all?
I'm not convinced that that's true. It's hard to, just with angles and stuff.
Yeah.
Like we did count, and it seemed like there was one less room. But I'm also like, I don't want to like hold anybody to the factualness of that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was just with angles of rooms, like
versus windows.
Like it's not like there's 5 rooms and 5 windows, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And houses don't generally have all the rooms on one like line.
Yeah.
Window facing, like front facing.
Yeah, so it's like a little bit maybe, but that's the story.
Got you.
That, they locked off the kids' room and they papered it off, like, so you can't go in there, but there's more windows than there are rooms inside. Basically, like, there's a window that you can't find. And so we all slept there overnight. And it was really, really fun. It's a beautiful Victorian house. Like I don't think it's just for Scouts. I think anyone can go. Like if you're ever in Adelaide and you want a fun adventure place, I recommend Woodhouse. I have a lot of very fun memories there. Like it's this beautiful old house. We had this big, family dinner, like this massive dining room. My cousin Damien slept in the haunted room.
There's a haunted room?
There's a haunted room. So he slept in the haunted room. I really wanted to sleep in the haunted room. I mean, there's a reason that I have this podcast.
Yep. All right, sure. So is the haunted room the servants' quarters? Because that's
no, the haunted room is like the mother's dressing room.
Oh,
because she
they were fancy.
Died of a broken heart or whatever.
Yeah.
And so so that's her room, and that was because they're all bedrooms now, and they've got like bunk beds in them. They might not have any of this anymore. This was like legitimately over 20 years ago, so it could be all different now. But at the time it was all like bunk beds because it was meant to be rented out for like big weddings and stuff like that. Because it is, haunting aside, it is a beautiful Victorian house and they've kept it all very original and it's like gorgeous. But that night, now I have a ghost story to tell.
Oh, God.
So that night I was sleeping in the bedroom with my sister and I was like, please let me see a ghost. Please let me see a ghost.
See, you're manifesting.
Yeah, I was like, let me, and I didn't see a ghost. But my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, so she would have been like 6 or 7, she claimed she saw a white figure that she thought was the Easter Bunny. Because she was like 6.
Yeah.
So this is my ghost story because I'm like, she wasn't me trying to manifest a ghost. I want to see a ghost. I'm so excited to see a ghost. She was a 6-year-old, like, and she saw something white sneaking around. And she was like, oh my God, it's the Easter Bunny, because she was a kid. And that's what makes me go, okay, she saw something.
Yeah.
Because she didn't think it was a ghost because she was a kid. Like, she wasn't me trying to,
She
like,
was innocent.
manifest an experience.
Yeah.
So that's my ghost story of the time I slept in a haunted house. Oh, and the next day we found a secret basement, which had, like, textbooks in it from the 70s.
Oh, weird.
And, like, love letters.
From who?
I don't know. We absolutely weren't allowed in that room, and we went in it anyway. And then we found a secret basement, and then they were, like, coming to, like, help us pack up, and so we had to, like, leave.
Dang it.
Yeah.
That would be, I was probably gone now, but geez.
Yeah, I know.
Also, 100%, if she thinks she saw the Easter Bunny,
yeah.
it probably would have been the mother, because her hair would have been up in a style that would have looked like.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my haunted house story.
Fabulous.
So I've slept in a haunted house. So I guess I probably would have gone into the haunted house if my other option was to non-consensually kiss someone I'm not sexually interested in. So
yeah, well, that's where you and I have clearly made different life choices.
You already said your choice would be home.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have occurred to me go home and be like, well, I don't really want to kiss you, so I'm gonna go into the haunted house.
Yeah, see, I like how that, independently, I'm just like, I forged my own path. I am Samuel.
Yeah.
I'm like, these are the options. Well, guess what? I'm gonna be over here chiseling away, making my own path.
Yeah.
And that path
of escape.
Path means home.
Yeah.
I'd be like, I'm not friends with you no more. I'm going home. Get better friends.
But she goes into the house wearing
with this
tiniest glasses.
Oh yeah, they were like comical.
They were comically small, and she's meant to, like, find a jar of something and bring it out.
From I think it was Mordecai's skull, or
no, it was like a jar. They said go in and find a jar of something and bring it out.
Oh, I thought they said to go down and get Mordecai's something.
Yeah, something from Mordecai's cellar.
Ah, okay, there we go.
So she goes down, she finds a jar, she drops it because she hears something, and then Mordecai appears and strings her up by the rafters and kills her, like, for real.
For reals, all about it.
Yeah. And so the next day,
it's a somber affair.
Yeah, the next day the boys come to the house because obviously they were all getting ready to leave. They were like, there's nothing here. This isn't real. It's just like a prank or like a, urban legend.
Yep.
But it turns out that it's real. Someone really died.
There's cops everywhere.
So they're like, well, we'll try and go back that night rather than trying during the day. That night they go back. Cops are patrolling because they obviously don't want anyone going into the house, like, keeping it safe. And they're like, how are we going to get in? And then Ed and Harry show up again.
With all their gadgets and gears.
All their gadgets and gears, like Ghostbustery look.
And it reminds me of Neil Thornberry.
Yes.
Nigel Thornberry. With the gear and the cameras. Like, very much that, like the car key with the vests and stuff. It was like, not Neil, like Nigel Thornberry.
Nigel Thornberry from the Wild Thornberries.
Yeah.
Good references. I also say, it was a little bit like Ghostbustery with like their packs and stuff.
Yeah.
Dean yells out, who are you going to call? And that attracts the cops to
And I think that's
Ed
also
Harry.
another call as well because of their names and...
Yeah, absolutely. The cops chased after Ed and Harry, and that leaves Sam and Dean to go into the house. But they're more prepared this time. They think it's a spirit. They think it's Mordecai's spirit, obviously. And so they've got shotguns loaded with rock salt, which we've established kill spirits.
Kill spirits.
And they they get attacked by Mordecai, and he is
an axe.
Yeah, he now has an axe. Looks like his wrists have been slit, which is a personal panic phobia of mine. I try not to. It's not for me. And the rock salt doesn't work on him.
Yeah, and they're like, what? This normally works on spirits.
Yeah, like what kind of spirit doesn't, like, does rock salt not work on?
Yeah.
So they basically dramatically burst out of the house.
Screaming.
Well, not screaming, but like
whoa!
They get out. They get out of the house. They basically slam into Ed and Harry, who've come back. They're obviously confused to see Sam and Dean, but then thankfully they were there because they got arrested by the cops instead of Sam and Dean.
Yeah. And while all this is happening, we forgot to mention that there's been some prankage while they've been doing researching.
Yes.
There's been some super glue on beer bottles.
Yes.
There has been some itchy powder.
Yes.
In some mail briefs,
Yes.
there has been turning on windscreen. Oh my god, windscreen wipers. Had to go slow on that one. And turning up on music. That's the worst one. The turning the volume to a max and then you turn the car on, because older cars you could do that.
Yeah.
Holy shit! That's mean.
I love that you're like, that's worse than itching powder in your
Oh
underwear.
yeah. I can handle the itch, but I'm
Strong
old.
disagree.
I don't like loud noises. Loud noises scare me.
Yeah, I do like, particularly with the itching powder in Sam's like underwear, it gives like Jared a chance to, stretch his comedic legs, and like kind of ham it up a little, and that's really fun. It's always really fun when we get to see them sort of stretch their comedic chops a little. So so like you said, there's been escalating pranks occurring even when they were sort of investigating Mordecai's house. Dean dares Sam to drink out of one of his gross weird jars.
Yeah, I double dare you. I think.
He says. Yeah, he's like, I double dare you, which is
so childish.
Such brother behavior. So they go back to the motel. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Sam's trying to figure out like what could this be?
Yeah, it's not affected by rock salt.
Yeah, like why? Firstly, why has the story changed? Why does he now have an axe? Why does it look like he slit his own wrist? Like, what's going on? And Dean is still trying to figure out what this symbol is.
Yeah. And
Sam realizes that the story on hellhoundslair.com has actually changed.
Yeah.
And it's now that Mordecai was a Satanist who chopped up his victims and then slit his own wrists. And so that triggers Sam to figure it out, to kind of start to figure out what's going on. And in the meantime, Dean has figured out what the symbol is.
Yeah.
They go back to visit Craig.
At the record store. Because Dean has realized that the symbol that he's seen is the symbol from Blue Oyster Cult. So it's a band. Like, it's not a real, it doesn't mean anything. It's not a real symbol. And so he calls Craig out, and Craig's like, yeah, so this absolutely started as a joke. Like, we were bored. My cousin, she's real. She was home for like college holidays. Yeah.
And so we went out there and we kind of made it look really ooky spooky. We like painted a bunch of stuff, like just random symbols that we knew.
Me and my friends went out.
And like, but some of it was stuff from like textbooks, because she's doing like a comparative religion studies. And yeah, we kind of made up this story that we spread around, and then my friends went out there, and like my cousin was pretending to be dead. She was the dead girl.
Yeah.
But it wasn't real. But now there's like a real
we didn't
dead
mean to,
girl.
We didn't mean for it to get this far. It was just meant to be a joke.
Yeah, it was just meant to be a joke, which again is like totally standard.
Yeah, standard.
I can totally believe so many of the stories that I heard growing up.
Oh yeah,
were just made up as jokes. Like this is Meghann tells spooky stories from her childhood, but there's like a story that my dad always tells me. Adelaide is, maybe I've told this story already. Tell me if I've told this story already. Adelaide is on a plain, but then surrounding it are hills.
Yep.
It's like it's not mountainous, but it's hilly.
Yeah. And
the hills are quite windy to like drive through and to drive up, particularly if you go the back way. And there was these stories that there's like mad monks in the hills.
No, haven't heard this.
Okay. That there are mad monks in the hills, and they like come out and kidnap people and like take them away.
Oh boy, like a cult?
So, yeah, like a cult, I guess.
Lovely.
So, but obviously there's no mad... Adelaide doesn't need help with your spooky, ooky stories.
No.
We've got enough, but for some reason we like to add it. We just want to sprinkle some more in there.
Yeah,
so,
just some, just pepper.
But I can
in there.
totally see that like a bunch of high teenagers made that up in like the 70s,
and
it just like escalated, and now it's just like an urban legend.
One person who got a flight had to walk 10Ks.
Yeah, and got spooked.
Yeah.
And like always like telling the story. Like it's such a stupid story.
Yeah.
My dad would tell us this, like we were in the hills, like driving up through the hills. And I was like 8 and he was telling these stories.
Good.
Sam works out that one of the symbols is what's called a tulpa.
Yep.
And a tulpa is like a Tibetan thought form. And it can manifest itself and become real.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, well, 10,000 people, guys. This is 2006. I think at the time, like, I think I read something semi-recently that in, like, 2002, there were, like, 15,000 websites in total on the internet.
15,000.
15,000. That's such a small number.
Oh, yeah.
the internet now is like infinite. I don't even know if anyone knows how many websites are out there
No.
anymore. But
Shit.
yes, I love that it's like only 10,000 people went to this website.
I know, only
like that's
10,000.
so tiny, but it's enough that it's making the story of Mordecai real.
It's almost like it's not the same, but it gave me vibes of like a golem. Like if you give it something that's made out of clay, you give it an instruction, it comes to life, it does the thing that you tell it to do. Similar vein, like you've written a story. The Mordecai is now changing his thing based on this belief of this story.
Yeah.
It's not a golem, but I was thinking when they were explaining it, like what this is, I was like, oh, it's like a golem, and I'm like, it's not like a golem. Similar family.
It's Golem.
Thank you.
Not because Golem is Lord of the Rings.
Oh yes.
Golem is what you're thinking of, which is the
Jewish clay monster.
Yes.
Yes. Sam realizes it's this thing. Okay, you did say
Tulpa.
It. Thank you. I was going to say Toka. I'm like, not the same thing.
So he thinks that, the sigil that's in the house is enough to like amplify the energy to make this story real. But what that means is that they can't just kill it because it's too late. They can't take the symbol down. They can't take the website down. It's too late. It already exists.
Yeah, it's manifested into what it is.
Exactly. Yeah. So they decide to trick Harry and Ed.
Mm-hmm.
So they go to their mobile home.
Mm-hmm.
They are there. They're trying. Harry's trying to convince Ed to go back into the house. He's like, "No, I wouldn't. I can't do that." And so, of course, he asks the age-old question: WWBD. What would Buffy do? Which when I first saw this, I don't think it made me laugh so hard because and we'll talk about this, I guess, through the seasons, but one of the things I love this show is that it becomes increasingly obvious just how nerdy all of the writers are.
Oh, yeah.
That they are so nerdy, that they know their references, and it just, for me, as a ginormous nerd, I mean, that's why I have this podcast, because it allows me to scream about nerdy things, but, it makes me feel really seen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, when this happened, Joel, which is Meghann's brother from another mother, twin, he perked up and was like, oh my God, I forgot that. And that is the correct response to any problem I'll have now in the future will be WWBD.
But just as they're sort of debating this, Sam and Dean show up and they're being really cagey and they're like, you should take your website down. It's dangerous and encouraging them. And they're like, oh, well, I guess we won't tell you about Mordecai then that we've just learned. And they start to walk away. And the height difference in this scene.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
Is so funny. I don't actually know how high, tall these actors are. I'm sure they're just normal heighted men.
But against the boys,
against Jensen and Jared, who are both unusually tall men.
Yep.
It's just they do look teeny tiny. And it did make me laugh. So they sort of chase after Sam and Dean, and they say that they found a death certificate, which they've obviously falsified, of Mordecai, and that he actually shot himself with a 45. And so that means that he can be killed by a 45 loaded with special iron rod bullets. But, we'll tell you, but you have to take the site down if we tell you this. And they're like, oh, yeah, of course, we'll take the site down. And then they both just, piss bolt back.
To their caravan.
To their, camper van to obviously immediately upload this new story. So,
of course.
Perfect trick. Worked like an absolute charm.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sam and Dean are waiting in a diner. They see the story's changed. Dean is torturing Sam with a laughing fisherman.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one of those, fish things.
Yeah, the talking
that you see
fish,
that people have in their pool rooms.
Yeah,
but it's like a laughing man fisherman,
like a situation. Maniacal kind.
Yeah,
he's like, if you do that again.
Yeah, but they're like, we'll wait till nightfall, and then that means iron rods will work on him, and then we can kill him.
Yeah,
and do our job as hunters.
Yeah.
So that night they go, they use my line here says they use the annoying laughing thing to distract the cops. So
yeah,
whatever that is, they use that to distract the cops. They go in
novelty thing.
And they go in and they're obviously like they've got their guns and they're like clearing the rooms and stuff. And there's just something about this where they're all like been on their game and they're working, they're working rooms and stuff where I'm like, it's kind of hot. It's kind of hot. Even though baby Sam is not for me because of
baby Sam.
He's a tiny baby. Obviously, we've discussed at length how I feel about Jensen Ackles. But it's just there's something about it where I'm just like, capable men being capable, doing capable things,
Meanwhile, we've also talked about it. Like, I'm not, like, I appreciate the menus of Jared and Jensen.
Sure.
But I will never order from it.
Yeah.
It's like when you go to a nice restaurant and you like, oh, I'm definitely going to get the steak.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's something on the side, you're like, you've piqued the interest, but I'm still going to stay with my steak.
Yeah.
That's me. I would be their bro. I would happily bro with them.
Yeah.
Like, if it was like, Sam and Dean plus Kat in the back seat, perfect. But as for potential romantic interest, I'm good, boy. I'm a good.
So they're going around the house and they're trying to find Mordecai and they try and finish him off, but the bullets don't work on him. Sort of everything's going wrong. Ed and Harry show up as well and they're like obviously faced with like real danger and like
they've got their camcorder or whatever it's called.
Camcorder.
I was just like, this thing. And they're freaking out going, oh my God, it's real. And it's like, and the way that the way that Sam and Dean like turn like, no shit.
Yeah.
Like, aren't you paranormal hunters? What?
Yeah.
What? Or sorry, not hunters, investigators? What?
But they reveal that the story didn't take because their server crashed.
Yeah.
And so not enough people would have read it to change the actual story. So Sam is trying to get them out because they run away and they get attacked by Mordecai. In the meantime, Dean's gone to Plan Z, which is burn the whole place down.
Oh, look, it's if something goes wrong in my life and I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. Oh, that still didn't work. Well, guess what? It's fire.
Yeah. So he is splashing gasoline everywhere. He gets everyone out and he's like, if there's no house to come to, then no one's going to want to visit. And so that is what we can do. He can't leave the house and let's burn this baby down. So they burn the whole house down. And I was watching this house burn down. I was like, did they build this set house to then burn it down? Like, because it looked like the whole thing was real. Does that make sense? Like, it felt like they really burned down a house.
It wasn't CGI swarm fire.
And it didn't feel fake. And I was like, did they just build this property to burn it down? Because like, where would you find this?
And also, if you did find a creepy house, you'd have to buy it to then burn it down. Because it's not like whoever owns the property with this creepy house on it is going to be like, sure, burn it down. Yeah,
so the questions I can't possibly get answers to. But I did think like, did they build this property?
Or was it really good CGI? Who knows?
Or was it really good CGI? Or was it trick photography? Who would know? Jerry Wanick, he's like production designer.
Okay.
For the whole 15 seasons. Sir, reach out to us.
Yeah, we need to know.
You probably don't remember. This was like 16 years ago, and you're like, dude, I can't remember.
And you'd be like, I don't know. I was young.
I was young. I was a young man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they burn the place down with Mordecai in it and they just hope that the story never changes. And Sam's like, if it does, I guess we'll be coming back.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, they never go back. So assuming the story never changes.
Nope.
So the next day, they say goodbye to Ed and Harry, who are very smug and have the munchies.
Much munchies. And they're also going to be operating a vehicle, which is also kind of concerning. Yes. But anyway.
Don't get high and drive, guys. It's just as bad as being drunk. And even if it's legal in the location that you are. Anyway, but they're like, oh, should I tell them or do you want to tell them? And they're like, we got a call from a producer and he wants to turn our story into a film and a role-playing game, an RPG.
Yeah.
So, fame calls.
Yeah, and for like in the show, when they were talking about, what would Buffy do, their whole thing has been to try and get out to LA to make it big.
Yeah, exactly. And they get in the car and they are like, adios, idiots, basically.
Yep.
And Sam's like, I have a confession to make. And Dean's like, what? He's like, I called and pretend to be a producer and just fed them that story.
Dean is laughing. He's just like, and I put a dead fish in the back of their seats.
Yeah.
Like,
and they call a truce on each other, on their prank war for now, or for the next 100 miles, I think they say. And they go off on their next adventure. I really like this episode. It's really fun. It's got a lot of brevity. Like, you kind of need these kind of...
to break up the really intense episodes. or especially where ones where it's been like the previous episode was heavy, but not like tragic heavy. Oh, heavy is apparently a word now. Tragic heavy.
It's late.
In fact, it is really late. Tragic heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nice just to break it up with just some jovial, fun,
Mm-hmm.
campy. This is
Yeah.
really campy. It's, you know, the story is not like, yes, there's Mordecai and he's kind of evil, but it's
Yeah.
not it's only hurt one person so far.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Chick who didn't
It's still
shoot home.
supernatural, so you're not going to have like zero
Yeah, you're not
deaths.
going to have zero, victims, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an episode that was needed after the last couple episodes.
Yeah.
So I like that there's some peppery,
Yeah.
a little bit of fun episode, a little bit of a fun.
Yeah, and
take it
introducing
easy.
some fun characters that I think are a little more grounded in our real world
Yeah.
compared to the supernatural real world.
Yep.
Which I think is really fun. And obviously those two actors whose names I didn't look up, but you can look it up. Fantastic comic actors. You know,
Yep.
they are so believable as these kind of dorky, fumbly, like think they know what's going on, but they actually have no
Potheads.
idea. Yeah, like stoner kids. Like
Yep.
they really nail it and they really do a fantastic job. So congratulations to both of you gentlemen.
Mm.
So that's the end of the episode.
That's the end of the episode.
So please go subscribe on your favorite podcasting app. Please leave us a review, preferably not 2 stars if you don't intend to leave 2 stars.
Yeah, please don't. And if you want to leave 2 stars, then don't listen to us.
Don't listen to us. If you're intentionally leaving 2 stars and not accidentally, which is what happened here, yeah, don't do it. Go listen. There's so many other podcasts. I try and retweet as often as I can remember other supernatural podcasts. So if you are interested, they're in our Twitter feed. Yeah. Speaking of, you can follow us on Twitter on We Will Talk Pod. You can follow us on Instagram at We Will Talk About It Pod. All the show notes can be found at wewilltalkaboutit.com, and you can email us at wewilltalkaboutit@gmail.com.
Fabulous. All of those things.
All of those things. Do all of the things. Oh yeah, tell a friend.
Tell a friend. Tell a work colleague.
Tell a work colleague. Tell someone that you think might like this particular this particular type of in-depth discussion about sometimes clever things, sometimes.
And then sometimes Meghann sleeping in a haunted house.
Hey.
I mean, you were young, and by young I mean you had no say
I was a
in
little child, but I would by choice do it again.
I know.
I really want to sleep in the Adelaide jail, like the old Adelaide jail. It's
Well,
apparently super
I
haunted.
bid you adieu.
It's like apparently super haunted because they used to hang people there.
Yeah, you can do that at Bogger Road Jail in Brisbane. I'm good. You know why? Because those people.
But I know that, like, I don't.
It's a jail. It's not good spirits.
No, because I did the night tour of the Adelaide jail when I was a kid.
Oh.
And yeah, you when you went into the like hanging room, you felt
You
the
felt
energy.
some things.
You felt the energy in that place, and it was not good. But I really want to sleep there. I think that'd be really fun.
Okay, well,
and terrifying.
You
but
do that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, if we ever go to Adelaide together for whatever reason,
if we have a tour, a tour,
Meghann will go do that, and Kat will be like, "I'm staying in our lovely hotel.
I'm staying where it's safe and there's nothing haunted.
I'm gonna order some Uber Eats. I want to eat hot chocolate and num and snuggle in my bed and go. I really hope Megann's having fun, and you're gonna be sitting there going, ghost, 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 manifest, manifest, manifest.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be like, no, sleep, 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 sleep.
Yeah. Anyway, this is why I have this podcast. I think it's all starting to make sense to everybody. In the meantime, stay safe and pick who you prank wisely.
Ooh, yes.
Bye, guys.
Bye.